Subscribe to this channel. Do me a favor, spread the word by sharing this video. Good morning, Wealth Hustlers. It's been a while. I am pleased, ecstatic to be back here. We're going to start doing some different things here with this video. I always talk to you guys about my reluctance to really mix a lot of politics into this, but as I go along, I find that it's more and more difficult to prevent that from happening, simply because in the modern world, the intersection between politics and business is just unavoidable. It's inextricable. They are linked. So today we're going to talk about the minimum wage. Now, there are two distinct camps with regard to how people feel about the minimum wage. Some people approach it strictly from an economic standpoint. I'm in that group. Other people approach it from the standpoint of altruism and emotions, and shouldn't everybody be able to have a living wage? And yeah, everybody who works hard to develop a living wage should be able to have it. But you got to ask yourself, look, let's talk turkey, or let's talk hamburgers. Is your McDonald's cheeseburger, putting that together, is that worthy of $15 an hour? And if it is, then how much more are you willing to pay for it? Okay. Now in Maryland, I'm going to show you the darker side of minimum wage, the real side of it, because you'll find that Democrats champion this living wage idea, whatever that is. Now look, when I was a teenager in high school, I worked at McDonald's, and back then, this is going to date me, but whatever. Back then, the minimum wage was $4.25 an hour. But I was in high school. In fact, most of the people that worked at that McDonald's were high school students, with the exception of the managers. They were in their mid-20s. And of course, they made a little bit more. But it never occurred to me or any of my colleagues that were also high school students that we were going to go out into the world with these jobs and, sustain ourselves. No one thought that. And I still don't believe that people that work minimum wage jobs think that way. This is an idea that has been perpetuated by politicians and activists. It's a wedge issue to drive us, further and further apart from each other. Now, if politicians and these activists had the best interest of the people at heart, don't you think they would explain to them that what people needed to do in order to make more money was to increase their skills? Think about even the term minimum wage. Who wants to go through life making the minimum? Don't you think that if you go through life making the minimum, you're always going to be in a situation that has you barely scraping by? I mean, the title of it says that, minimum wage. I don't want to talk about minimums when I talk about money. I want to talk about maximums. How do we maximize the wage? And the way to do that is for people to increase their skill sets and for people to go out and add more value. How much value is there in a McDonald's hamburger? Well, I could tell you back when I was a teenager and I was preparing them, it's not a difficult job at all. Okay, there's no artistry in it. There's no special skill required besides eyesight, maybe, okay, and the ability to know how to pull a trigger on a ketchup dispenser. So, in Maryland right now, the House of Delegates, which is the lower house of what's called the Maryland General Assembly, it's the legislative body, they have approved a $15 minimum wage increase. However, here's what you got to understand, and this is where when we talk about minimums, this is where it gets insidious. If you're going to subject yourself to the minimum, then you are going to be at the whim and control of other people. And here's what the House of Delegates, in a 96-44 vote, and this is a Democrat-controlled legislature, okay? Now, these are the people that talk about the living wage and how immoral it is for people not to have this $15 an hour. So the measure that they just passed will raise the minimum wage from $10.10 an hour, which it is now in Maryland, to $15 over several years. It's going to rise to $11 an hour next year. So all you people out there that are fussing about minimum wage, take heart, relax, breathe deeply. Guess what? All these people are going to be making a whopping 90 cents per hour more. And then when you calculate the tax burden on that 90 cents, it's going to come out to somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 cents more per hour. 3 more quarters per hour. Okay, this is the moral living wage. And I don't know what that 75 cents per hour is supposed to purchase for them, but hey, we're moving forward. Okay, so next year is going to go up to $11. It's going to go up 75 cents each year, 75 cents per hour each year, to $14 an hour in 2024. And then in 2025, it will reach, finally, $15 an hour in 2025. Now, inflation, we talk about inflation a lot, and inflation is just what you feel as items become more expensive. Historically in America, inflation has risen at about 3% a year, 75 cents per hour increase per year. And then finally in 2025, you get up to $15 an hour. So you got to hold on for another 6 years, and you'll finally get your 2025, you'll finally get your $15 an hour. But by that time, inflation would have increased such that your $15 an hour is probably going to feel a lot like the $10.10 that you're currently making. This is why, if you've got friends or family who are making minimum wage, share this video with them. And by the way, subscribe to this channel. Hit subscribe right now. If you've got friends or family making the minimum wage, share this video with them to help them understand that the government is not doing them any favors. The government is not even helping them keep up with inflation. So by the time 2025 hits, guess what? The gallon of milk is still going to be a burdensome expense because you're still making the minimum. Now that's how things are affecting people, and that's the glorious $15 an hour that we're going to see finally here in 2025. Okay, so, and that's 7 years from now. That's 7 years from now. So if you look at it from another standpoint, let's look at New York City. They increased their minimum wage to $15 an hour in one fell swoop. Okay, they did this for restaurant employees that employ more than 10 workers. They said you got to take them from $10.50 an hour to $15 an hour. Now, restaurant employees, you might say, wow, $10.50 an hour is low in New York City because it's so expensive to live there. But remember, restaurant employees, they make tips. So the city demanded that they go from $10.50 an hour to $15 an hour. Okay? And that ended up being a 43% increase. Next year, every restaurant, regardless of how many employees they have, will have to go to $15 an hour. Now, you would think that based on what these Democrats and liberals say, that this would be a big deal and everything would be utopia right about now. But again, we're not paying attention to the macroeconomics of this. When you increase wages with the same amount of business coming through the door, something's got to give. So either you got to increase your prices. Restaurants are really reluctant to do that because they're going to price themselves out of the market. There's only so much someone's going to pay for a corned beef sandwich. Okay. So what ends up having to happen is people get laid off. Restaurants don't hire as frequently. So I'm going to post a link to this in the description. It's an Investors Business Daily article, and it talks about what's going on in New York City. These wage hikes come at a painful cost that backers refuse to acknowledge. They kill jobs. They're killing jobs. In the last 3 months of 2018, the last quarter of 2018, 4,000 jobs were lost at these restaurants that employed more than 10 people. 4,000. And that's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's not me. That's a definite fact. 4,000 people lost their jobs. And there were fewer restaurant workers in the city overall than in November of 2016. So the job increases that they saw were eroded last year. Overall employment climbed to 163,000. So that means what changed? The only industry that had that change was the restaurant industry that employed 10 or more people. And then more job losses coming. New York City's Hospitality Alliance, they did a survey and found that 47% of full-service restaurants expect to cut jobs this year to cope with the latest wage hike. Last year, 36% said they eliminated jobs. So this $15 an hour, yeah, if you're lucky, you get it. But it looks like 47% of the restaurants expected to cut jobs. So there's a damn near 50% chance that you're working somewhere that may have to actually eliminate positions. So now you've gone from the prospect of making $15 an hour to zero. And good luck finding another job in the industry because, again, this is industry-wide in New York City, in that industry, the restaurant industry. And it's not, remember, it's not just the 10 per more. This year is going to go up to all restaurants. So these are the things that we've got to worry about when we talk about this minimum wage. There's only so much value that someone can put into taking your order for lunch. That position doesn't demand a lot of value. In fact, if you've been in a McDonald's lately, they have started to develop and really push out these kiosks. You take your order at the kiosk. You type it in. That's how much value there is in that. Okay? So you're losing jobs and you're seeing the rise of automation. You don't have to pay that kiosk vacation. It's not going to take a break. It's not going to talk back to you. It's always going to be there. It's not going to show up late. All of that stuff. No payroll taxes, no liability, none of that from automation. So when you think about minimum wage, just the idea is just, look, in the 21st century, minimum wage is great for kids living at home. Let's just be real about it, okay? And somebody's going to invariably say, well, the origin of minimum wage back in, I don't care what the origin of it was. We're talking 2019, today. What can minimum wage do for you today? $10.10 or $10.50 or even $15 an hour in New York City? How far is that going to get you? Really? How far is it going to get you in Maryland, Illinois, Texas? These are jobs that pay a wage for a kid, maybe even someone in college, okay? But you're not supporting a family on it. And to think otherwise is delusional. And to listen to these people who make you believe that this is the greatest moral fight on earth is delusional. Amazon, and we're going to talk about Amazon in a different video because I want to go into what happened with them in New York. Amazon is at the forefront of developing automated technology to ship all of this stuff out to people that you order online. Again, how much value is it? How much value is there in taking an item off of a shelf, putting it in a box, taping the box, and then sending it out, putting it on a conveyor belt? Let's be real. This is a job that a robot's going to do. This is a job that a robot is doing right now, but more and more of them are going to do it over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. And that's going to eliminate jobs. and you're not going to have to worry about a minimum wage. And that is what liberals and Democrats are not telling you. Liberals and Democrats are not telling you that you better sit down and start to think about developing your own business idea. Or if you don't want to become an entrepreneur, fine, but you better increase your skills such that you're able to provide value in the marketplace in order to demand a wage that is going to allow you to pay your mortgage, support your kids, eat some food, wear clothes, that sort of thing. Because, they're setting up this whole thing where people are bitching and complaining about rich people. Okay, the evil rich. This has been going on forever, and it has not changed one thing. Bitching and complaining about rich people, saying you're going to raise taxes on the rich, that's not going to do anything for the poor. The situation of the poor will not change simply because someone's sticking it to the rich. And in fact, let me correct that. The situation of the poor will change, and that's what we're seeing now, in that those business owners are making adjustments which are impacting people who need jobs. The harder you stick it to the rich, the harder you're going to feel it amongst the poor. Think to yourself, when's a poor person ever given you a job? Do you work for a poor person right now? All right, so subscribe to the channel. Share the video. This is real talk. Okay, we're not going to get out of these economic situations unless what we start to do is think differently. All right, unless we start to really observe the facts. To hell with your feelings. Okay, what are the macroeconomic facts out there that govern how money is made? That's what we do here. Share the video, subscribe to the channel, and like this video. Help me pump this information up. This is a community we're trying to build here of people who just share these ideas so we can all prosper. Okay, and we can help generations of people after us to understand how money works so that they can make it work for them. Be back at you soon. Hustle on and play to prosper.